Legends, I hope you're all fantastic. On today's video, we're going to check out the Multicab 4 from Tsakalis AudioWorks in Greece. This is what I would describe as a hybrid cab sim. You have an analog side with a clean or hot preamp, power amp emulation, and a digital side with a bunch of different cabinets that you can select with this rotary switch up here, and then dynamic ribbon or blended microphone choices. You can have open, closed, or semi-open cabinet choices. There is also an ambience control as well. In terms of ins and outs, you've got a DI and a line out, as well as an aux in and a headphone jack. On the other side, you've got an input and a through, so you could connect this between a guitar head and a cabinet or a load. Alternatively, you can just run a head into a load and into this. You can use it with preamps. You can use it with a pedal board like amp in a box pedals. We're going to try a bunch of those different setups on there. You've also got a little level selector switch on the side, and you've got a USB port on here because you can connect this to their software editor and load in different cabinet simulations. There is a lot to look at with this pedal, so let's dive straight in. To get started, I'm going to be using the Multicab with a loaded down tube head. So I've got my old Strat plugged straight into my Boogie Mark IV, which is rack mounted. That's going into a Fractal X-Load. The X-Load output is coming into the Multicab input, and then I'm taking the XLR output of the Multicab straight to my Universal Audio Apollo Twin. That's going into Pro Tools. There's no post-processing on the guitar tone at all. We've got this big knob in the middle, which is an 8-position selector switch, which, as you can probably guess, is going to choose between the different cabinet models that you've got loaded up in there. You've got a big volume control and an ambience control, which is going to add a room-style simulation, just basically like a nice room-style reverb in there. Then you have a really cool, kind of like almost joystick style controller here to select between dynamic ribbon or a blend of microphones on the cab. You can select between closed, semi-open, or fully open for the cabinet model in there. That's something you wouldn't typically see on a purely digital IR loader. Then you've got power amp simulation, which I won't be using because I am using a loaded down head. Let's just start on the orange channel of the Boogie. I've got it set up for a mild crunch, neck pickup of the Strat. And at the moment, what do I have? I have this Fender Deluxe 1x12 cab with a Jensen speaker. Let's just hear the difference between the dynamic ribbon and blend, and then closed, semi, or open back. Alrighty, that sounds pretty good to start with. It's definitely got the vibe with that open back selection. You know, you would probably figure that out with a little Fender combo on there. What I'm going to do very quickly is just add some room ambience. We might crank it all the way up, and then I'll just try to find the sweet spot. Let's have a listen to some of the different cabs that you get here. There are 2 cab packs available at the moment, so you can actually get in and edit these selections. I've got a Vox AC30 impulse on here, so this is like a 2x12 with Celestian Blues. Let's just leave the preamp off for now, and I'll do the same thing. I'll let you hear it. Dynamic ribbon in both, and then closed, semi, or fully open. got plenty of chime, which you would expect. Next up, what do we have? This Zilla Fat Boy. So 1x12 with V30s. I'm expecting something a little different. Let's start on the closed selection and dynamic. You can see how easy it is to just kind of select this stuff. It's very, very tactile, which I think is one of the things that certainly frustrates me sometimes when I've got a whole bunch of different IRs laid out and I'm like clicking on a screen or I'm trying to touch something. These feel really good to just kind of flick into position, and that is a non-negligible factor. I like the blend a lot. Next up, there's this Marshall 2x12 with T75s. I just scrolled through a couple of different cabs there. I ended up on this Mesa 4x12 with V30s. I'm going to change guitars, I'm going to change channel on the amp, and I will give you some chunk with these 4x12 cabs. PRS SC245 with the stock pickups in drop C. I'm on the lead channel of the Boogie now, that same Mesa 4x12. What do we have? Dynamic, closed back, no preamp just yet. Let's go. That's pretty awesome. I really, really like that cab. Maybe let's try a different factory cab. This is a Marshall 1960B with H30s. Realistically, I don't think you'd ever really need more than 8 cabs at any one time for a particular setup. If I was gigging with this, I would just have one cab and it would be set and forget. I'd use the dynamic ribbon or both combination depending on the type of tones that I'm going for with a particular band and what I really need to cut through. The preamp section I kind of see as like icing on the cake. You know, if you've got a really dark tone and you just need to push it in a mix, that will do the trick. And then the semi-open or closed back thing is pretty subtle in there. I think it's fairly obvious, like, you know, with the 1x12 Fender speakers, having it on the open back lets it breathe a little bit more. The closed back sounds considerably more appropriate with the 4x12 cabs on there for me. That's just me though. You know, you've got all these options on here, and if you need more than 8 cabs for different gigs or anything like that, the editor is super easy to use. I'll give you a quick little demo of something that's not out just yet. It's a bit of a teaser. I have been chatting to Chris from Tsakalis. Obviously, I've got a bunch of free IRs you can download, and this isn't an IR loader. They need to be in the correct format, but I did send Chris some of my IRs. So let's hear good old LT TV mix. We'll just leave it on dynamic, close back, and I'm just gonna give it a blast because I love the sound of the Boogie with this particular guitar. been waiting the entire video to get this stuff out. This is my old Ibanez RG550. It's got a Duncan Custom in the bridge. This is an 88 MP1 that has had the 3-tube mod done to it. It's going guitar, MP1 straight into the Multicab 4. You can see I'm on cabinet number 8. I've got it set in the dynamic position. Close back. The preamp is not engaged at the moment. Let's have a listen to what the power amp emulation does. I'm going to start with it off. I think I like the 6L6 mode the most on there. You can hear both power amp simulation modes on there. Take that otherwise is kind of flat sound when you're just running the preamp into the cab sim and just give you a little bit of extra low end oomph. It feels a lot better to play on there. I'll try this with this, I think this is the Mesa 4x12 cab. I've scooped out some more mid-range and cranked up the gain on this. We'll go with that 6L6 mode again, and I'll try both for the mic choice. So let's go with that. The preamp section comes in handy if you're running this with a pedal board. You've got some distortion pedals on there, or an amp in a box style pedal like this Room 40. Don't worry, I will have a separate video coming demoing the Room 40 because it's a pretty awesome sounding Marshall in a box. Let's just hear the clean preamp and the hot preamp in here. I've got a tone control on here to play with as well. I could keep going with different examples and different rigs you could set up with this particular unit. I think you all get the idea by now, and it is very versatile. It feels like a sweet spot between the kind of modern impulse response loader, which sounds fantastic, but can often give you option paralysis, or maybe the hindrance of a non-intuitive user interface, and the old school cabinet simulator where you just press a couple of buttons and you go. If you've ever tried anything like an ADA microcab, you know it's pretty easy to set up and use, but the tones, to me anyway, are never super convincing. They have that kind of boxy sound about them, and you don't have power amp simulation or a clean preamp in there if you want to run it with pedals or a dedicated guitar preamp, whereas of course this does. It has the extra versatility of having the software editor if you want to download the free cab packs from the Tsakalis audio website and try those out. Like I mentioned, I have sent Chris a bunch of my IRs, so keep your eyes peeled for a release at some point in the future. So if you grab one of these, you will be able to get my IRs as well. Of course, if you want to grab my IRs for any format in WAV file format, you can get them from the video description. You can also find other ways to support my channel in the video description there. Thanks again to Chris for sending the pedal out and a few others. I will be demoing them very shortly. In the meantime, I have one last example. It's my Strat straight into the multi-cab. I'm using the Hot Preamp on there, a 1x12 cab set to open back, a bit of 6L6 power amp emulation. That's going to my rack with a DBX 160, a Lexicon PCM81, Eventide H3000, and a TC2290. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, and I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.